Hi everyone. We're going to read Wangari's Trees of Peace. It's a book that I like very much because this woman takes care of the earth. This story is a true story from Africa and is written by Jeanette Winter. Before we go on, I want to show you some vocabulary words you'll see in the story. Wangari's Trees of Peace. Seedling. A seedling is a small plant. Sapling. A sapling is a small tree. Disagree. Have you ever disagreed with anyone? Maybe a friend, or maybe your brothers or sisters. When you disagree, you don't think or believe the same way someone else does. It's okay to disagree, as long as we're respectful. Barren. If something is barren, nothing is growing on it. Everything is gone. The next three words are foods. Foods that maybe you have eaten or maybe you know about. Sweet potato. Can you go to your kitchen to find a sweet potato? How do you like your sweet potatoes cooked? Sugarcane. Sugarcane is a way that we used to sweeten all of our foods that we wanted sweet. Now, of course, we use high fructose corn syrup, but sugarcane is used in many countries still. It's a beautiful plant. Go to Google and find sugarcane to see what the plant looks like. I think you'll be surprised that a plant like that could provide sweetness. Maize. I bet many of you have heard of maize. Maybe you've heard the other term for maize. Maize is corn. Seedling, sapling, disagree, barren, sweet potato, sugarcane, maize. Can you say them after me, please? Seedling. Sapling. Disagree. Barren. Sweet potato. Sugarcane. Maize. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Now, if you have a globe or a map, I want you to find where Africa is. Here we are in North America. That's our continent. And our state is right here, Michigan. Kind of hard to see, isn't it? The sun is shining in the room, which I do appreciate. Let's see. Here's Michigan. Can you see that? To get to Kenya, Africa, we have to cross this big body of water called an ocean. And the name of this ocean is the Atlantic Ocean. Here's Africa, this huge continent. Very huge body of land. See how big Africa is? Now, I want you to see if you can find Kenya, where Wangari lives. I'll give you a hint. It's on the east side of Africa by the Indian Ocean. Wangari's Trees of Peace. I love that this picture has her as the trunk of the tree and she's holding up all the branches and leaves. The earth was naked. For me, the mission was to try to cover it with green. Wangari Maathai. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. What is an umbrella of green trees? Look at the picture carefully. See if you can tell me what the author means. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. Can you think of a time where you have had to gather firewood for cooking? Have you ever had to do that? I pick up the branches and sticks in my yard and put them in a fireplace so I can cook marshmallows and make s'mores. She helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize from the rich soil. What are these? Have you seen those before? Sometimes they're more orange. Sometimes they have more red to them. Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. A scholarship is money that people give you, and it's usually for studying. I won a scholarship to go to college my freshman year. Look how far she must travel. Across that big ocean. Do you remember the name of it? The Atlantic Ocean. 6 years later, her studies over, Wangari returns to her Kenya home and sees a change. What has happened, she wonders. Where are the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds? See how these women's backs are bent over from carrying the heavy load of firewood? What do you and your family use for cooking? Do you use a fire? Or do we have a new appliance that you can use? Like the stove or the oven, right? Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one planted new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert, she wonders, as her tears fall. Wangari thinks about the barren land. See it barren? She's doing something about it, though. I can begin to replace some of those lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time. She starts by planting 9 seedlings. Watching the seedlings take root gives Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. In an open space, she plants row after row of the tiny trees. Do you see all the cues the author gave you to tell you what a nursery is? Next, Wangari convinces the village women that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see. We are planting the seeds of hope. The women spread out over their village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. Like a line, like a belt, right? They keep going and going and planting and planting. The government men laugh. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained forcers to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep planting. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling still living after 3 months. Their first earnings ever. Do you know what an earning is? Do you see? She's giving them an earning. It's money that you are given for doing a job. Do you have an earnings? Maybe for doing chores. Do you earn money? But this is the first time the women have ever had money. Isn't that interesting? Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. What does the author mean when she writes that the green is returning? Do you remember what it was like when Wangari came back from studying And now look at it. See more and more. Soon other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. But the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. Why don't you get up now? Stand. Show your family how to stand tall like an oak. Are you standing like this, like Wangari? The government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way, so they hit her with clubs. They call her a troublemaker and put her in jail. And still, she stands tall. Right is right, even if you're alone. Do you know of other people who have been put in jail because of their beliefs, and they still stand tall? Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Desmond Tutu, more and more people too. See if you can find other people who have gone to jail for believing in things that are different than some people. But Wangari is not alone. Talk of the trees spreads all over Africa like ripples in Lake Victoria. It's a very famous lake in Africa. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are over 30 million trees where there were none. If you want to know how big 30 million is, get one piece of paper. Make a dot for each tree. See if you can fit 10 rows of 100 on your paper. You'll have to turn it sideways. And then you multiply that many times, many pieces of paper to get to 30 million. The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women walk tall, their backs straight, for now they can gather firewood closer to home. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see the millions of trees growing below you. The green has returned, and the green Wangari brought back to Africa. Author's note. Wangari Maathai was born in 1940 in Eith, a small village in the verdant, fertile land of Kenya. Brilliant in school, Wangari was awarded a Kennedy Scholarship to attend college in America, where she earned both a bachelor's and master's degree in the biological sciences. Wangari returned to Kenya to attend the University of Nairobi and become the first woman from East Africa to earn a PhD. She taught at the university and today is a member of Parliament in Kenya. Parliament is their government. Wangari started Greenbelt Movement Kenya in 1977, long before you were born, on World Environment Day by planting 9 seedlings in her backyard. She was responding to the growing deforestation of her homeland. When it's deforested, that means they're cutting down all the trees. She saw many changes in daily life, especially among rural women. Women who didn't live in the cities, they had a harder time getting resources and getting what they needed to live. Some of these changes were lack of firewood, poor soil, erosion, and lack of clean drinking water. The desert was creeping closer, encroaching on the fields where crops and trees once flourished. Because trees help hold moisture and they bring nutrients to the ground. So when they're gone, the land becomes barren and it's hard to grow things. She enlisted local women to help her plant more indigenous trees. Indigenous means the trees that are or naturally born or naturally grow in an area. By 2004, 30 million trees had been planted. 6,000 nurseries existed in Kenya. The income of 80,000 people had been increased, and the movement had spread to 30 African countries and beyond. Wangari Maathai was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 because of her contribution to world peace through the Green Belt movement. In African tradition, a tree is a symbol of peace. So it was fitting that when notified of winning the award, one of Wangari's first acts was to plant a Nandi flame tree at the base of Mount Kenya. In her acceptance speech, she said, "We are called to assist the earth, to heal her wounds, and in the process, heal our own. Indeed, to embrace the whole creation in all its diversity, beauty, and wonder." Wangari's Trees of Peace. I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you can find it in your own library at home, or if you want to, you can come back and listen to the story again anytime. Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay safe.